Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Some of My Jokes Don't Land. This is Ayan as usual. How are you guys doing? I hope everything is fine. I think you are awesome as usual. This is actually our 13th episode. Obviously, 13 is an unlucky number. But I feel this one is going to go great as well because I have a very interesting topic in mind. First of all, I'd like to say if you are just stumbling upon this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps a lot. Also, if you are a recurring episode listener on any audio streaming platform, I'm sure you're enjoying it as well. I hope everything is fine for you guys as well. Anybody on YouTube, please like this video, share, subscribe, and do whatever you want, guys. It's a great place to be because I share so much and I hope you guys like it so far. I'm planning to make many more things. I'm planning to do live streams. I'm planning to do so much more stuff. So let's see where it goes. And today's topic is actually very interesting. Basically, for me, choosing this topic was not that easy because I wanted to sum up everything into one episode. But these are things I have discovered and learned over a period of 15 years. So it's pretty difficult to sum all of those things up. But I'll try my best. I'll try to share everything I wanted to share. So basically today's episode is going to be about filmmaking and everything. And so if anybody is not interested in filmmaking, don't worry, there are other stuff as well. So I'm pretty sure you guys are going to enjoy it. And for anybody who's interested in filmmaking, please watch the entire thing, follow the timestamps. I don't know why YouTube hasn't figured out the chapters thing yet on my videos. I think there is something wrong, but I think it will happen pretty quick. Let's see what's going on. So that's it. That's the episode today. Today's episode is going to be all about filmmaking and I'm going to have a great time. I hope you guys do as well. So this is basically Ayan Pathak. You are listening to Some of My Jokes Don't Land. Let's get started. Welcome back. So today's episode, as I said, is going to be about filmmaking and filmmaking and filmmaking. Yes. So basically, for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm actually Ayan. Hi, and I'm a filmmaking student, and I wanted to be a filmmaker actually pretty late in my life. Like I'm only 22, but still, for that matter, I only decided I want to be a filmmaker when I was in the 12th or 11th grade actually. The desire to make films was from a very younger age, obviously, from the very first time I got my camera and stuff. But that's the thing, I never actually wanted to pursue this as a career. So what happened, why I chose filmmaking, you are going to know about everything, why I got into it. Now I'll give you a very brief introduction to filmmaking if you guys are unaware of it. I'll not go into technical stuff, but I'll be telling you things that helped me learn multiple of things that I know right now. And multiple aspects are helping me make this video as well, so I will share some of those things as well if you are interested. Any questions, anything further, please ask me on comment, ask me on Instagram DM. All the links are given below, and so that's it. So let's get started. So let me start with why films appealed to me at a very younger age and how it started. So basically, as anybody who is living in India, you know that India is known for its films. Like we are known for making like 1,000+ films a year, and the entire Bollywood or Hindi film industry, or let's say the entire regional cinema industry in India is also very developed and also very booming right now. But when I was younger, I genuinely never went to the theaters that often. First time I ever saw a film in a theater was actually Krish, and I think it was 2007. I was born in 98, so that was actually pretty late. I think I was in the 7th grade or something. Anyway, that too I went with a friend and their family, because in our house we don't go to films that lot, but we usually watch films on television like all of India does. And I remember growing up, there was no interest for like watching good films or stuff. I used to mostly watch films that would come on the television and on local channels. There's no internet obviously, so there is no chance of that. I had an uncle who used to stay back and he used to get those pirated DVDs of films, and that was a pretty interesting thing. That too I don't have much memory of, because I'm pretty sure there are films I saw that I didn't get back then. And obviously I rewatched them and I now know them what happened there. But that's the thing. So I used to watch films on television, and I remember on Star Gold they used to show English films in Hindi, and that was pretty exciting because I was understanding English films also, where the subject matter was different from the usual Bollywood films that I was used to seeing. I remember that there are few films which are very common in the Star Gold programming, which was Commando, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then there was the entire Bond series. I vividly remember that I think for a year they showed a Bond film every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So every day they would show a Bond film, and it was usually in Hindi only. But that's how I fell in love with cinema, and I got to see like films that were not Indian basically. Obviously in my family people saw English films and other stuff, and also mostly they used to see Hindi films. Like my mother and my father, they are not very fond or very desired to watch films in that way. But yeah, basically like every Indian or everybody does, you get a grab of a film here or there. But my uncle used to get films from like that pirated place, and that was also a very cool experience. I got to see lots and lots of cinema from outside. They are actually mainstream movies now that you consider it. They are not deep hardcore indie films that nobody has seen and only I got hold of. That's not it. They are hardcore films like Die Hard or this entire Saw series. I know it's a pretty bad thing to do, that as a child you see the entire Saw films, like the entire series, but I did, and it was pretty horrific at first, but I later, like, obviously now it doesn't matter and nothing happened to me obviously. But that was a very unique experience to see films that were not Hindi or not showing subject matter that is Indian. Now a very interesting part is that because I was part of the system of Hindi films, Bengali films, and other regional films that were shown in our television, I never appreciated it much, but I got its appreciation way later. Because I'll get to it what happened, why is it like that. But that's the thing, I started appreciating Indian cinema much later in life, and that is a very key point where some of my ideologies of filmmaking changed later. And I will come to that, but let me go to the childhood again. So basically that happened. I used to see those films on Star Gold or through that pirated thing, and I never actually understood that this can be something more than entertainment. Like, you can also do it, you can also learn to make it, you can actually make films on your own with your stuff and everything. Now my uncle who was staying with us, he was actually doing some video editing and photo editing work, and that was his main occupation. And that's why I always knew there exists a concept where you could edit a film, you could make something of your own basically. And that was very interesting to me. I never understood when he did those things, and now that I consider that the amount of work it might have taken, I'm pretty sure they used to do most of their work in Windows Movie Maker only. They didn't bother any other software and stuff, because I never remembered seeing any other thing. So they used to basically do marriage stuff, like they used to videograph marriages and make it into a CD format, which is pretty common everywhere, wedding films basically. And also he did photography and stuff, so around cameras and other stuff. And also I saw that he used to use Photoshop. But to be very honest, he moved out and he did his own thing, he started his own family. But I never learned anything from him because I was never interested in all those things. Everything that I've learned is after when I got my interest, which was pretty late in life actually. So that was the story of how in childhood it was for me with films. It was basically nothing, it was average like anybody. Only thing that I would say is that I started watching films which were not Indian, and I got a different perspective. And that age, seeing cars getting blown up in that way, and also the production quality of those films were much higher than any Hindi film back then. So that interest was there to see how those things were done. But more than that, nothing. Only other gateway were those pirated films that I saw, which I'm pretty sure was obvious for many other people. Now another interesting thing happened is that slowly as I grew up and I was in the 8th or 9th grade, that's where it really started hitting me, because I really wanted to see films. That time I understood that I like watching films and I like finding other films which are not very mainstream, and I started watching all those things and I started learning from them basically. So basically I was that guy in class who you could go for a movie recommendation because I used to find stuff. And these things happened actually pretty quick because I got access to internet. In the 5th grade I got access to internet, and it took me a few more years to understand and develop how to download films and how to see films on the internet. And then obviously I started searching for films, like you go like IMDb top 10 or obscure films, all those stuff I used to see, and that's how my interest developed. But still I was on the fence, like I had no clue that I wanted to go into filmmaking. There's a very interesting point why it happened, and I'll share it with you guys. But before that I would like to say that behind me starting to learn about films, how films are made, there is a very key contribution of 2 YouTube channels. I actually had never met anybody who was in the film industry before, like going to film school. Actually not film school, I think few years ago, I think in the 12th grade or 11th grade when I started about all those things, I had never met anybody. So when I made my mind that I can do something in films and stuff, it was not a physical person, it was actually YouTube channels that helped me to go there. The first YouTube channel that I saw where people were talking about films, and I quickly understood that you can earn a living by talking about films, and that's the important part. I was not sure about if I wanted to make films or just talk about them. Like I wanted to do film journalism and like that. So the channel is Screen Junkies, and I think I've already spoken about them in my earlier episode when I recommended YouTube channel. But let me talk again. So basically that's the channel. Screen Junkies got me into filmmaking because for anybody who doesn't know who Screen Junkies are, they have a very popular series on YouTube known as Honest Trailers, where they make parodies of original trailers and it's hilarious. But they have other shows on their platforms as well. Now the channel has changed. They had a controversy. I think they had a Me Too allegation against the main guy. But before that, it was very interesting. They actually talked and discussed about films, and they had a show called Movie Fights, where they used to fight with movie trivias, movie knowledge, and movie debating. Basically, they would have questions like, in a, let's say, brawl situation, who would you pick? And somebody would pick, let's say, Sylvester Stallone, somebody would pick Batman, and you had to fight and give opinions. If there was a judge who would conduct it. And through that I got to learn about a lot, that how people who are interested in filmmaking and films in general can also have a living. They are at their core journalists, but they had started a YouTube channel, and it was very, very fun. I got to know so much about films from there. But the most important thing that they did was that they used to only cover mainstream films. So basically anything that was coming out, news about that, how was the sequel. They used to do reviews as well. They used to give everyday news about film and film industry. Also they used to cover Oscars and other film related awards functions, so that was very fascinating as well. So that way I got to learn about films a lot from that channel, Screen Junkies. Later now they have gone down and they have started, I think, another branch. I think I would put the YouTube channel link on the description. I would also put a graphic somewhere. But that's the thing, that channel got me into it. And also they had other segments as well. Few segments, I think they only talked about superhero films and stuff. And that's the time where Marvel and DC were picking that fight. They are starting that race of creating a cinematic universe, which obviously DC didn't do very much, but MCU established their thing. So it was at the very start of that period. So I was interested in filmmaking that way because they were covering news from Avengers and stuff, and that got me into it. And after that I discovered much more stuff, obviously. But that was one channel that helped me get into it, to learn that yes, you can earn a living through filmmaking. But still I was not sure that if it was going to be filmmaking or talking about films, like film journalism or film criticism. That's what I was pretty unsure about that. Now I would be talking about another YouTube channel that I also credit a lot of my knowledge of filmmaking too, and in the sense that it's not a YouTube channel, it's actually a series of video essays, and I've already discussed about this channel earlier on the YouTube recommendation episode, but I would come to it again, and I would say that the name of the channel is Every Frame a Painting, and I'm pretty sure if you are interested in filmmaking, you have at least seen one video. Now, for anybody who is unaware of this YouTube channel, it's basically a documenting kind of a thing. It's actually, like I said, it's an essay kind of a channel where that person has put up essays about filmmaking styles, filmmaking concept of particular director or particular genre of filmmaking, and it's actually very limited. That person has not posted a video, I think, over 7 years. The first video I saw in this series was of Edgar Wright, and the name of the video was How to Do Visual Comedy. And that video opened my mind to filmmaking in a different way, and that is the first time I wanted to start making films, because I saw that people were making films and they were telling stories in such a very different way that even I wanted to try my hand on it. And trust me, I went through that channel in over 3-4 hours. I finished all the videos, and boom, a new world was there for me. I had never seen something like this, and it genuinely blew my mind that how you can use the language of cinema to tell such a beautiful story, to use it in creative ways. That was it basically. That channel opened my eyes to the concept that you can make films and succeed and tell your story. I think that channel made me fall in love with filmmaking in the first place, if I had to give credit. Before that, I was very interested in it, but if I had to pick a point where I fell in love with the craft of filmmaking, I think it was when I started watching that channel. Now I will tell you a few more stuff that happened that time. So basically, I was very keen on doing engineering before, because I love computer and I wanted to do computer engineering and stuff. But then I realized that I was not doing that well in the class, and I realized that when it comes to national rankings and stuff, it would be pretty useless if I go there, because my main passion that time I had discovered was to make films, tell stories, and do other things in this line only. So I started pursuing this more. I started learning about other stuff, but I was very unsure that if I want to make films or not. So the very first thing that I did, and I feel that everybody should do about learning filmmaking, is that you have to pick what you want to do. And I'm pretty sure that it's a very descriptive question, and you are always on the fence to think that what do you want to do exactly. I know. Still today I am unsure of what I actually want to do with filmmaking, if I want to become a director, or editor, or other stuff, or anything. But what I would suggest is that start with something at least. Make your mind that these are the things that you want to do. These are the things that interests you the most. Now very commonly I will say everybody goes for either cinematography or direction. That is the highest thing. Also you can become an actor. Obviously acting is something which is also brilliant, and it has lots of scope because so many things are happening now. So actors can get lots of opportunities. But for generally people either choose to become a cinematographer or a director. Very few people also want to go into editing, but these are primarily the things. Many people also don't know that there are several departments in filmmaking and everything counts. Even the person who is running the lights, who is not even operating it, who is just picking the lights up and putting it in the right place, is doing a very massive part in the whole set. And that person is equally credited, and I should be equally credited. So that way there are lots of departments, but when you see a film, there are only key things that strike with you and you want to do those things. Similar things happened to me, but very quickly I had realized something that was very, very, very important. I had realized that if I want to learn filmmaking, the theory I can learn anytime if I see more films. Cinematography can be achieved because I know how to operate a camera on the very basics of it. What I wanted to learn immediately was to operate an editing system. So everybody knows that you can't put out a film without editing it unless somehow you have miraculously done an entire shot perfectly, or somehow your story requires only one shot. or doesn't require music or anything. So editing is very essential because it's the last thing. It's like the final things you can do to make the film better, and also it's the last time the film is made. As you know, film is made 3 times: one on the writing board, one on the set where you're shooting it, and one on the editing table. And that's exactly what happens. That's the last step. So if you by mistake do something in the last step which is not right, it's gone, the film is gone. And it's also a very key thing to know, because editing requires you to have the knowledge of operating the software. Anybody can hold a camera. A basic tripod is holding a camera and there's a perfect shot. So cinematography can be achieved that way. I'm not saying cinematographers are any less or anything, but I'm saying even a tripod can make a film. You don't have to depend on a person to operate it the right way sometimes. I'm saying you can go through it and you can pass by. Cinematographers have a lot of things to do. They have to light the set, have to find perfect angles. It's a very difficult job. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that you can pass it on and you can do something else. Like, it's not the last thing. But when it comes to editing, it's genuinely the last thing you can do before putting a film out. It's the very last thread. So that's what I realized, that if I wanted to do anything, I should at least learn editing. Cinematography I will learn on the way. Direction I'll read more books, watch more videos, talk to actors and directors and figure that out slowly. But even before I wanted to go to film school, I realized that let's learn editing first. So that's what I did. I learned editing, very basics of it, and these are few of the things that I would say that everybody who has ever wanted to become a filmmaker has done. Few effects that they try, and there's a very big notion about effects and cinematography and filmmaking that I will say in a very short moment. But that's the thing you do. You go to the internet and you see effects that you can try and which will make you look cool. And one effect I'm pretty sure every filmmaker tries at least once is to clone him or herself. And even I did that when I was younger. So I did those things. I cloned myself. I made 2 or even 6. I think in one video there were 6 versions of me. It was pretty interesting. Then I saw that you can download green screen elements and put it in your videos with the tap of one click with color key, and that was fascinating. I started putting dragons, I started putting very weird stuff. Like, I was making like meme type videos with those stuff, and it was pretty hilarious on Facebook and stuff. And then I saw that people are also focusing a lot on these effects, and they were like focusing more on learning how to do these effects. Like, I'm pretty sure you have all heard of Sam Colder, or you have all heard of Alejandro Dalesari. Just a brief note, if anybody wants to watch the best travel video ever made, according to me, it's Watchstars of Turkey by Alejandro Dalesari, if I'm not wrong. I'll put the right spelling and right name if I'm wrong. So very quickly I realized that these effects were good, they're essential, but they don't construct a film. And also, this is what I was talking about earlier, that people have a very big misconception when it comes to editing and stuff, that you have to learn effects. You don't have to learn effects at all. When was the last time you went to a movie and you saw a hyperlapse? Just think of it. Have you ever seen hyperlapse or time-lapse? Time-lapse we have seen, but it's not essential if you're wanting to make a film. It's very essential if you want to make a travel video, or if you want to become a travel videographer or travel filmmaker. It's very essential. If you want to create movies, they are not essential. So all the effects that you see in travel videos that Sam Colder or Alejandro Dalesari does, they're not essential for filmmaking at all. They can be used to enhance your film, but they don't form the key elements of the film. Let me say right away. If you want to ask me what is the best editing software or what you should use or what effects to learn, I would say anything works. Anything. There's no best editing software. All of them are according to your own preferences and what you want to make. You can even print out 24 individual frames, tape it with a sellotape and make a film if you want. Like, it's not going to stop you from making a film. These are not the things that are the key elements of making a film. There are multiple other things, but when it comes to learning a editing software, I would say learn anything that is handy to you. I would suggest go with Premiere or FCP or Avid because these are the things that are usually used everywhere. But if you learn Premiere, you will get hold of FCP in 2 seconds. So these are things that are not to be worried about. Just learn how editing works. And that's the main thing. When it comes to film editing, you have to learn how people speak. Listen to people speak. I listen to people speak 10 hours a day over some format or the other. And I think that contributes to a lot of my filming knowledge. Listen to people talk about filmmaking. Listen to humans interact. Listen how music works. These are the things that will help you. Not learning about hyperlapses. Those are essential as well, but they are not the last thing you should or the first thing you should learn when it comes to filmmaking. You can skip all those and focus on learning about how music works, how people talk, how pauses work. Now, these are the things that are important. You have to understand where to pause and when not to pause. Anyway, I'm going into very depths of editing. I shouldn't have gone that much into it, but because these are things I've learned in a very preliminary age of filmmaking, that's why I wanted to talk about it. But anyway, that was it. That was what I faced. These were the things I did before I even went to film school. And I think if you want to do this as well, because let's be honest, you are not going to get hold of a Arri Alexa or a Red camera or even a Bolt that is very popular now when you are starting. So one thing you will have to know that cameras vary a lot. So your phone camera is different from the DSLR I'm using to shoot. And it's 1,000 times different from the Arri Alexas or Red cameras that are used for filmmaking. So these are the things that you should know, that when you can't get hold of an Arri Alexa and the entire cinematography perspective will change once you reach that level. Your cameras won't matter, focus pulling will be another different thing, multiple things will be added. So I would suggest learn the basics. That's important. Don't go into advanced stuff. Learn about sound. Learn how music affects a scene. Learn how cinematography affects a scene. Learn how editing affects a scene. Learn the basics of it, even though you don't want to get into filmmaking. These are things that will help you some way or the other, because let's be honest, internet is growing bigger and bigger, and slowly so many people are coming to this platform, and I'm pretty sure at some stage editing or music or something is going to benefit you, or even knowing about filmmaking is going to benefit you, because video content is very, very, very popular nowadays, and it will only grow more given the number of people using the internet are increasing. So that's all I wanted to say about filmmaking, and these were the things that I had learned before even coming to film school. Now I'll talk about my film school experience, and I'll tell multiple other things, but that was it. That was about how I got into filmmaking in the first place, how I developed my passion for it, what were the key elements that took me there, and that was it. Those were things I feel everybody should do. Yeah, so far I have spoken about how I got into filmmaking and how filmmaking happened to me at an earlier age. By now I've told you about how I decided to go to college and what things happened, how I learned that basics you have to learn first, how editing is a key essential part if you want to start studying about filmmaking, start about the basics of it, start with the basics of filmmaking, basics of editing, basics of cinematography. All these things are done now. Now I'll be telling you guys about my experience of film school and what happened after that. So far I have decided that I want to do something in filmmaking. I'm still unaware of what's going to happen. I don't know if I just want to talk about films or I want to make films. And I go to college and I see that there are so many people who are in that exact position who don't know what to do. And this is a very interesting thing for me, because I felt that it was only with me. Now I see that so many people are there at the same exact place. Now in our school, I got into a degree which was not totally filmmaking, it was journalism and mass comm, and filmmaking was a small part of it. And that way I actually got to know about so many more things. Now I'm sure you know that in college everything happens at a very quick pace, and to be really honest, in no matter which student you ask, which student you pick randomly on the streets, that person is never going to say that that person has learned everything from his college. And similarly it is for me. What my college did was it introduced me to various things. It gave me access to equipments and stuff to learn and deal with. But I would say mostly whatever I have done is through my own experiences, contacting people, learning about them. A majority of it is also from the classes that I went in college, but I feel I had done way more my research and my studies apart from those things as well. The classes were good, I had no complaints about them, but still I feel a lot of the learning I have done on my own. So that's exactly what happened. I got to know that you could even teach filmmaking. I never thought that you could teach filmmaking also. I thought that nobody would do that. Why would somebody do that? It is something that comes from within. But then I got to know that there's a lot of practical as well as a theoretical side to it. And that interested me more, that you can actually learn it. It's actually a subject you can study. That means it has to be important, right? And that's exactly where it got me, that in filmmaking there are lots of options to go, and because it's a very actively taught subject in schools and colleges all over the world, and there's also a curriculum for it, so it doesn't mean that there's no prospect for it. So that time I got that still I was very unsure that if I want to make films or not, because I had not made anything. Only things that I had made were birthday videos. I had done a few smaller internship kind of things here and there around that concept, and I had made like memes and stuff, meme videos and stuff, which are very very casual. So that was it. That's where it ended. I had never made a film or anything, and I got to make films in college. I got to work with my friends. There's actually the link of a film in my description that I recently made, and it recently came out. I made it with a friend, so do check that out also. And even that film was a very 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 big part of my filmmaking knowledge. I'll give you one assurance: every time you make something, your knowledge of filmmaking will increase for sure. Hardly there will come a point where something will be taken away from you rather being added to you. Obviously you have to put your efforts, you have to work hard, you have to think about it, but at the end of the day, whenever you make a film or anything, you will learn from it. That's all. So that is where it happened. In college I got to meet many people who are interested in filmmaking. Never before I had seen anybody who had seen the films that I had seen. I met so many people. I saw that films were part of the casual vocabulary of lots of people, and these things I had never seen from anyone. I was that guy who knew films were a good thing, loved to watch them, and in my friend circle also there are not many people who are very very interested in filmmaking. So when I went out and I met people who are just talking about films 24/7, I befriended a guy who only talks about films, and I'm pretty much 80% of it as well. And similarly, I found people who had other interests, and we talked together and we learned our crafts amongst each other, as I would like to say, because so many things happen in college. Like, college is a crazy place, everything happens there. But in those packets of nothingness, we discovered ourselves, I feel. And that's where the beautiful part of filmmaking was for me, because I got to talk to people, like I said, and I also learned a lot. Still, I would say I learned most of the things from YouTube, and I only learned it when it was necessary. But then eventually towards the end of the college, where in my third year, I actually put it in my habit to learn things. Like currently I at least try to learn something new, at least like twice a day. I have to learn something new, else I feel my day is a waste. Now these are my thoughts. I'm pretty sure things are going to be different from you, but that's the key important part that I've taken away from it. That is that you can never stop learning. Also, another thing is that giving 100% I feel is not enough now, because everybody is giving the 100%. So you have to bring it out from yourself to give you 100% at a very specific time, at a very specific place, and in the most creative way possible. And only then your effort will be turned into success. Because I see people giving 100% to nothing. It's basically like pushing a wall. So that's where you have to be smart. That's where you have to learn how to be smart. Smartly learn things around your own interest areas. Don't learn everything. But I feel I have the curiosity of 10 people, so I learn everything. Most of them are waste for me, but few things I also learn which are pretty interesting, and I feel that's how I started this podcast, because I wanted to share all those things that I've learned, because I feel that those are going to waste and I would soon forget. I feel that's why I wanted to put it out. Anyway, coming back to filmmaking, So in college I got to do all those things. I made films, I made videos, I got to learn about filmmaking. It was a very 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 big experience. I would recommend that if you want to be a core filmmaker, not somebody who works in a film set, if you want to become a filmmaker, I would suggest you go to a film school and talk to people and meet people and be around people who are interested in that subject, because working in the film industry is very easy. You can do anything, you can learn some or the other thing. But if you have to become a filmmaker, I feel you can do everything on your own by sitting at your house as well. But if you are there physically present at a place, I think it's much effective. Again, saying that, I would also like to say that I don't feel that you have to be a film school graduate to become a filmmaker, because I never have that idea. Even till today I feel that college and school taught me how to be disciplined with myself, and rest of the education and information I have gathered from myself and from the internet. So that is my philosophy. I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty sure you guys are in colleges and schools that are very exciting. They actually teach you stuff. Also my school and college did, but I feel most of it was something that I watched somewhere and I retained it in myself, and that's how it works for me. Also, another thing that works for me is compartmentalizing your thoughts and ideas and keeping them in your memory at a certain chamberized way, so that you can take it out sequentially whenever you need. That is how I function. I don't know about you guys. Anything that is suitable for you will work. But that's the thing. I know I'm talking about lots of vague things now, but these are actually things that have happened in my life, and I feel these are interesting to me, and I hope it is interesting to you as well. Now I'll be telling you last two things, and then I'll be recommending a few things, like always. And these are the things that I wanted to say. So to end all these things, I'll end on two topics. First is what is my definition of filmmaking. Now, to be really honest, I don't read books on filmmaking. I watch videos on filmmaking. I have read a few books. I'd recommend a few on my Instagram if you are following me there. Yeah. And what I would like to say is, for me, filmmaking is a very vast concept. It's basically not putting your thoughts into film. I don't think it's where it ends, because I always feel that there's much more to it. 100% of the time what you think is not going to come on your camera. You have to be very very lucky if it happens. I'd give an example. I recently made a film, and I was very disappointed when I saw the film footage when I came back after shoot, because it was nothing like I had imagined it to be when I was preparing for it, and it completely broke all my hopes. And that is something I would suggest nobody should go through, because there's a lot more chance to improve afterwards when you work with the film. And that exactly happened. I feel I had taken that film with my co-director to a place where we actually wanted it to be. It was not at 10, but it was obviously at 8 for us back then. Anyway, that's what I would like to suggest, that if anybody is wanting to start something, don't expect you would get 100% of it. So stop visualizing that. You'll always either be somewhere down or somewhere above than what you initially thought. If you're at the perfect place where you thought you would be with your film, you're very very gifted, and I want to be you. Again, another aspect of filmmaking that I enjoy, and these are my thoughts on filmmaking, is that it's a medium of art. It gives you a voice, it gives you a perspective. You can put your ideas into film, in your story, and portray it. For me, film is a very three-dimensional medium. You can talk with voice, with music, with images, with sound, so many things you have. And that way you get a lot of scope to innovate and cultivate and find out new things to discover. And that way I feel it's a very interesting concept. When it comes to writing a book, you can write it and you can spark a thought or spark imagination in your reader's mind. Similarly, when you're making a film, you can do that same, but with the help of multiple other things like sound, video, audio, sound effects, music. So many things can happen. Even dialogue writing, dialogues can spark thoughts and stuff. So that way I feel it's a very interesting thing, and that's what intrigued me in the first place. everybody wanted to be a writer at some point in their life, and even I wanted to be, but then I realized that I wanted to be visual. I love the visual medium much more than I love the reading medium or the written format medium, and hence I got more into it, and that's how my love grew, because I just got a place where I felt that what I thought could be brought to life. And I don't know if you have seen the Martin Scorsese masterclass, but the trailer starts with that if you want to be in front of a camera or come here for the glam for it, then this class is not for you. But if you have a story and you can't sleep because you haven't made it, then this is for you. And I feel that somehow is, yes, it's right, but I feel there are lots and lots of other things as well, because I feel nowadays filmmaking is much more than the story, and so many things happen, and I think we need to develop ourselves to it. I think your entire film nowadays, if you want to make a good film, a Hollywood level film or even a Bollywood film starts with your script, and I think it ends with your release and your promotion and everything is a bundle. Because filmmaking is that if you want to make a film that people would see, you will have to promote it as well, and that is a key part of it as well. So of course the story is something that you will have to be within you, that you can't sleep if you don't make it, but you don't have to stop with the story. I feel that's what happened. I don't know if you have seen this Martin Scorsese comment where he said that Marvel films are not films. Now that is something I disagree to the biggest extent, and it's also a very important topic I'm going to cover next, which is about the future of filmmaking. And so things like that, I feel that with time everything evolves. You look like any record that has ever been set has been broken because people back then thought that it's not possible, and then it has been broken eventually in sports, in anything. Similarly, I think the concept of filmmaking has also changed a lot. Like you see Martin Scorsese saying all those things, and then you see that he only using so many aspects of 3D stuff for his film Irishman. Now obviously at its core, Irishman is a drama piece and it's not a comic book inspired film, but there's a lot of elements of filmmaking that goes in both of them, and I feel it's has their own separate place. I love both of them to, I think, the very depth of my existence, and I can't even say that either of them are bad, because when you see at Martin Scorsese, who is probably the greatest director of all time, you can't pick anything bad. And when you see the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what they have done as a project and collaboration, you have to respect that also, that how they have put out their structure. So I think they're very two different things, and these shouldn't be confused that way. Anyway, I genuinely feel that Marvel films and DC films are very key important part of filmmaking, and they stand for the future of filmmaking, and this is what I'm going into next. Future of filmmaking is very simple. It's going to be exactly the same. It's exactly going to be the same. Nothing is going to change other than a few key things that I'm going to talk about, and these are all have to do with technology, because technology will help films more than any other thing, like it always had. When George Méliès used his camera and discovered that he could stop a frame and start it again, it was a very start of a technology. When the Mayu Bridge experiment happened and he discovered that he can take multiple photos of a moving object and make it into a running video kind format, that was the implementation of technology, and it was also another invention. So that way I feel technology will improve more and more, and multiple things will happen. Currently what I'm mostly interested in is that like I said in my last video also, I've started learning 3D and stuff, and it's really opened my eyes to many things, because you get to learn about cinematography, you get to learn about filmmaking, you get to learn about lighting, composition, so many things from 3D, because it's exactly the same. You have to place a camera, you have to fix the lighting. If you can't go into a real world and do it in this pandemic time, why not do it on 3D? So many things that you see on film are corrected and fixed in 3D. You have no idea. Very basics of drama, basic drama films, basic comedy films, they use so many elements of 3D and correction to enhance it. Is quite remarkable, because when you see a film and you see a beautiful shot, you imagine how did they do it. and then you realize that they didn't do it. They did a pretty shitty job, and then they corrected all of it, and they fixed it in post using 3D and stuff. So that opened my eyes, and I got to learning 3D and stuff, and I feel these are the things that's going to change film more. Another key aspect, I don't know if you have heard of screen projection. Earlier in filmmaking, what they used to do is that they used to do screen projection, which basically means is that they would, let's say somebody's driving a car and they can't drive the car and shoot, so they would put up a projector screen and they would project a moving scene. So it would look like in the camera, it would look like that the people are moving in the car because the background was moving on the screen. They're using similar techniques to shoot films like the series Mandalorian and other stuff, but they are using live video production technique using Unreal Engine and visual production systems. So these are things that are going to change. I would put up videos and links to where you can watch it, and I would also give the visual cues like I always do. But these are few key things that I think are going to change filmmaking more. Also the implications of newer graphic elements and graphics card and advent of deepfakes are going to change filmmaking as well. Actually, I was talking earlier to a friend and he discussed the same thing where I said that deepfakes are going to change filmmaking as well, because now you don't even have to be present at the scene to act. You can just give your audition and give your permission of your physical or identity, and they could just take your face and replicate it on screen. And I feel that is also going to be a key element, and I feel it's going to change filmmaking. Other stuff that are coming and not yet very popular, I feel with the implications of everything is going to be done on your computer with the help of AI, and I feel pretty soon they will figure out AIs that can edit on their own. I actually found a video where a guy trained his AI to edit videos. They did a pretty shitty job, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come pretty soon someday. And we are not far from days where every equipment will be robotized, or some way it will have a robot in it. The bolt hand that shoots those high frame rate things is already a robot in some. Multiple jobs on set are going to be replaced by robots because they actually can be done that way in a much effective way. Only the creative part and stuff will remain human. Pretty soon that might also change, who knows. But these are the few things that I feel. Also with the improved graphic processors like the RTX 3090 and stuff, you can do many more things live now. Like there's the whole concept of broadcast this is going to change. Like it's not filmmaking, but it's part of the set of video production and stuff. So that way it's going to change, and I feel these are the newer things that everybody should learn and talk about. So basically that was it. It was a very vague episode where I just talked about my experience with filmmaking and where I am now, how I developed my thought process. The one final thing that I would leave you with is I would correct a thing that I feel everybody has, is that if you feel that if you want to learn filmmaking, watching films is obviously necessary, but you don't have to watch millions of films. It's not necessary. If you want to learn filmmaking, you can do it for relaxation. I will say that be very picky about what you watch. Don't put garbage in, because it's not going to be effective in the end. Obviously you can watch stuff for entertainment and for relaxation, that is completely different. But if you want to learn filmmaking, I would say make it a habit to watch good things. And I would like to say that it doesn't matter how many films you see. You can watch only 100 films in your lifetime and rewatch them multiple times and become the greatest filmmaker alive. So that way it's possible. So that was the last thing that I wanted to say. I basically spoke about everything that I wanted to say, and that's it, guys. I feel now I'll be recommending a few things before I end this as usual. And every week I recommend films or TV series and stuff. This week I'm actually going to recommend few filmmakers which I feel personally have affected somewhere or the other, and I would recommend those filmmakers, and I would say what are the key things you can learn from them and from the filmography if you ever want to watch their stuff. First of all, I would like to start with the veterans. I would start with Satyajit Ray. Satyajit Ray was probably the guy who started parallel cinema movement in India, and his works are mostly known for its human form and how they told stories of real and natural people. And for anybody who is from India and watching this, I would suggest watch his film. They would give you a very good idea of talking about stories of real people and how to change and shape your ideas around those things, how to write for people who are not very hyper or super. Obviously these films have been changed and developed much more and more. Nowadays all our films are about real people, but I feel it's very necessary to see where it all started from, and that's why I'm recommending it. Obviously please watch Satyajit Ray's work if you are not already aware of him. Secondly, I would suggest watch Kurosawa, because Kurosawa will tell you things you can do visually, and his format of storytelling has always been about using the lesser amount of words possible to show emotions, to show things with just camera movements and stuff. There's a very good video on Akira Kurosawa on the Every Frame a Painting channel where he talks about how he uses movements in his camera to enhance the scene, and how even his camera movements has a 3-act structure and stuff. It's very pretty interesting, and I feel that everybody should at least watch Kurosawa's films at least once or twice if you want to develop your habit of cinematography and how to improve camera movements. He is great in every other way as well, but that is one of the things. Thirdly, I would speak about Stanley Kubrick, because I feel he is one of those directors who has done everything, and I'm pretty sure he has not made any bad film ever. I don't know which is his bad film. He's pretty much like Nolan. Tarantino has made a couple. No, even like Nolan, Tarantino, they have also not made bad films, but Stanley Kubrick, because the diversity of things he has done is pretty insane, and that's why I feel his work is very inspirational, because he has made horror thrillers, he has made sci-fi, he has made dramas also, he has made military stuff, military films, yes. So that way his filmography is very interesting, because it will show you a guy who can pretty much do everything, and he can dabble around in every genre and still find a voice amongst everything. So I would suggest watch Kubrick. These are obviously very popular recommendations, but I would suggest that you watch these, because these are very key and defining filmmakers who have shaped me in some way. Now these are the very 3 obvious one. I would pick 2 more, and I would limit it to 2 more. I would give you more director recommendation. I'm pretty sure I'll make an episode only about directors very soon, but till then I'll give you guys 2 more directors whose filmography you need to watch according to me. One is Edgar Wright, the very reason I got into filmmaking. I saw a first video which I said how to do visual comedy by Edgar Wright, and I got into it. And Edgar Wright does comedy in ways that I had never seen before. His use of transition, sound and camera movement is actually exceptional, and I would suggest that everybody should watch his filmography. I would be putting out visuals for every, and there's a thing known as idiosyncrasies, which are smaller things which a director always does in his film that makes him or her stand out. And there are few idiosyncrasies that Edgar Wright has, which I'm a big fan of. And fifthly, the fifth name is Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson is a visual master. I don't think I've seen things prettier anywhere on camera than what he puts up, and that way I'm very enamored by his qualities, and I'm very interested to learn more about him. And Wes Anderson has always been that guy whose work has surprised me, because I always thought that few things are not possible, but my expectations are broken every day now. The concept of cinematography and visual imagery has changed a lot. But Wes Anderson's work is something that always mesmerizes me, because visually I feel his work is one of the best. Pretty soon I'll be also making a episode on Indian films. I feel that I want to speak about. We always forget the Indian side of it, and I think at the very start I had said that I had forgotten how I had said that my appreciation for Indian cinema came at a very later age. I'll discuss about it I think in that episode only, but I'll give you guys a very brief thing. Is that growing up I had seen only Hindi films and Bengali films, and not even any other regional, few dub versions of South Indian films, and I always liked it, but I never enjoyed the whole of it, like to its deepest core. Like they didn't move me in that way. That's the word. I started getting moved by films when I started watching English films or foreign films. So I always had this concept that our films have not reached there. It's only for masses and stuff, because obviously I had not seen much back then. Then when I learned about filmmaking and I came back to Indian films and I saw how so many things have originated from here, how we do things differently but are brilliant in our own way, I developed that feeling of pride for our film as well. And now I really want to work in our film industry as well, because I feel it's one of the best in the whole world, and it's certainly the most exciting and most booming. So that way I feel that took me a long time to discover how our films are genuinely really good. If you see few of the works, few of the directors, obviously there is shit everywhere, but it's not your job to focus on the bad work, it's to focus on the good work. And I think this thing happened to me at the right before us going into college. It happened because I started appreciating regional and Indian film more and more. And if you are also there at the stage when you feel our work is not that great, I would try to recommend you few stuff to watch it, but it would be a separate episode. I would make a Indian movies episode completely on its own. But that was it. Those were my film recommendations, or rather director recommendations. For music recommendation, like last week, I have another playlist that I'm going to offer to you guys. This is a playlist that I had made on my own. The last playlist was not mine, but this playlist is mine, and this is something I have curated. It's basically movie themes that I enjoy the most, and it's a Spotify playlist again. It is going to be in my description, so please check it out. And that's it, guys. I think that was it. We spoke about a lot of things, especially filmmaking we spoke about, and it was really good because I wanted to share my experience with filmmaking, and I feel it came out in the best way I could have told you guys. So thanks for listening to this podcast. Thanks for joining in. This was the 13th episode of Some of My Jokes Don't Land. And I think that was pretty good. I think we have come a long way, thanks to all the audio listeners, thanks to all the people who are invested in this series. And please share and like, as you know. So before going, I would like to say it in a very nice way, as everybody says. Please, guys, like, share and subscribe. We need it. I'm putting out content. I feel you guys are very good. Please like, share and subscribe. And thanks for watching or listening Some of My Jokes Don't Land. This is Ayan. You were listening to Some of My Jokes Don't Land. Bye bye.